Hong Kong, a world-class city full of arts and culture. In this celebration segment, we're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at how the local Hong Kong community embraces another culture's festival that has been around for nearly 30 years. Let's check in with Xiao to see where we begin in this episode of TV.
I always knew Hong Kong was a melting pot. And until I experienced it for myself, I cannot believe how rich and deep these cultures are ingrained in the city. Which is why I'm extremely excited today that I get to explore how one particular community celebrates their culture here, the French. And it's one big, massive festival. Let's go check it out.
A rich history deserves a proper celebration. With such a large and growing presence in the city, it is no wonder that the French consulate initiated this festival decades earlier. Pushing French music, gastronomy, dance, theatrics and art, Hong Kong can take pride in having exclusive access to one of the world's oldest cultures. The past festivals have galvanized the local and French communities alike, and the best has yet to come.
When I joined the festival in 2019, I really wanted, even though this festival is very established, a lot of recognition around the city, but I wanted to do something different and to go deeply in local collaboration and to be more into the community. Surprisingly, that's the pandemic who helped me actually to achieve my goals.
Right.
Meaning that because with the pandemic, we couldn't bring so many French artists because of the quarantine, it was restriction, it was too difficult. So I say, okay, even though we cannot bring any French artists, it's maybe through local collaborations that we can do something.
Right.
And so to give you an example, you attended the rehearsal for Cities of Light, and Cities of Light is probably one of the most meaningful programs of this year, with people from different nationalities and playing together French and Hong Kong songs together.
Right.
Something totally unique.
I think French culture is all around us in a way. Even people don't realize there's the fashion part of it, there's the food part of it, wine, of course. Does it ever become challenging to find something new to show people that maybe something that they haven't seen before?
Absolutely, of course. Audience expect also to have a glimpse of the French culture and French for gastronomy, for example.
Right.
And we had only a few weeks ago we had a French gourmet market, which has a lot of attendance. So and also we are preparing an exhibition, for example, with Versailles, which is of course a very prominent museum and heritage museum. But however, we would like also to present that the French culture has something very unique. Can be very eccentric sometimes, and a lot of modernity. For example, we proposed to the local jazz scene to pay tribute to Serge Gainsbourg. Serge Gainsbourg is a French singer, musician, composer starting really from the 60s and famous until the 90s. And so we proposed to the jazz singer to revisit Serge Gainsbourg's song through the jazz.
Right.
And we were very surprised by the singer would say, "Oh yes, let's go for it." So I was not sure that Serge Gainsbourg was so not really famous in Hong Kong, but he is. So I was very happy actually to see that the local singers and jazz musicians really wanted to pay tribute to this musician. And at the end, that's something very unique. And I'm very happy that this concert is sold out, and we have two shows all sold out. So it means that really we managed to also reach the local audience to this program. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm just curious, when you first started, what's the evolution been like?
Next year, the festival will celebrate its 30th anniversary. So it's a long existence already. It was created in 1993. It was an initiative from the French consulate, which is not a surprise because for the culture, art and culture is very important in the French diplomacy. So meaning that it's kind of soft power to promote its heritage, food, gastronomy, museums and everything. But also in 1993, it was a time that Hong Kong was different in terms of art and culture.
Absolutely.
I think back then in 1993, for performing art especially, you had APA, the Academy for Performing Art, and City Hall. and that's it.
Yes.
So it was also important for the French consulate and the French diplomacy also to participate in the arts and cultural scene in Hong Kong, and also to contribute in a way to promote art and culture. That's the beginning of this festival.
Right.
In the time, the festival started maybe I think with 5 or 6 programs, but now it's more than 2 months festival and putting together, I think. Today we have, this year we have 65 programs.
And can you briefly talk about why we're in this room and what we're looking at here?
Absolutely, yeah. Vivian Mayer, this photograph, is also very interesting in a way. She's not French, she's American, but coming from a French family. She spent time in France for about 40 years. This exhibition gives also a glimpse of what we want to do for this year.
Right.
By giving a glimpse of French touch, I would say, in a way, in all the events we organize.
These are just such beautiful portraits, and she has such an interesting background. And for those of you who are not familiar, I highly suggest you look her up and read a little bit more about her, because her story is incredible.
Her story is incredible. She loved photography, and she had a camera, but just doing for herself, just for passion. And it's only decades when she passed away that someone discovered the negatives of the photo.
That's such a crazy story.
Because she was a nanny, so she couldn't afford actually to print also those negatives and to develop the negatives. So it's only decades after she passed away that someone discovers the negative,
and such beautiful
it's
quality.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So this exhibit is just, it's really amazing. Some of these photos are just breathtaking. I'm also curious, what do you want not only the French community, but the local community in Hong Kong to take away from this festival? We have an important French community in Hong Kong.
Yes. I think it's one of the biggest. I think the French community is estimated to more than 20,000, and it's important for this community to contribute to the life here in Hong Kong, and to have kind of dialogues between the two cultures. So organizing a festival like this, a big celebration during a pandemic, must have its challenges. So how do you guys adapt to that? I remember very well the moment when, during the first time of the pandemic, and when we knew that, border will remain closed for a long period of time. And now the question was, what do we do? We have one option is maybe to do, let's go for online program and having some French musicians or museums and presenting something online. But my experience is that nothing can replace, I would say, live performance. The energy, the ambience. Yeah. So we say, we have to find solutions. So if we cannot bring a French artist, let's do it differently. And I mentioned that from the very beginning, I thought that the festival should go further with local collaboration. And so we say, let's go 180 degrees on the other side. Here we have amazing talents. With local talents, we have also a lot of very talented French musicians in Hong Kong, performing for Hong Kong Sinfonietta, Hong Kong Philharmonic. We have a lot of French visual art artists living in Hong Kong, having them to contribute also to the festival. And so in a way, we thought that this festival, back then in 2021, because 2020 all the venues were closed, so it was impossible to present the program. But for 21 and this year, we say, let's have all the community, including the French community in Hong Kong and the local community, having to building up this festival together. Wow. And with live performance, not online. It was something very important for me.
Welcome back to our celebration segment. Looks like Xiao is at a rehearsal. Let's see who's with him.
So Leon, you and I are quite similar. I mean, we both played the piano.
You do?
Yeah, I dabble. I mean, I stopped around the second grade or so. But how long have you been playing piano?
Long time, since I was 6. I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, but it's been decades. All right.
Been decades?
Yeah.
And so, how and why did you get involved in this festival in the first place?
Well, I think the organizer, Michelle Ong with FIF, and I'm an artist in support of the organization. So basically whatever they do, and I'll be a part of that. And I think they came up with something kind of exciting, which is do something about pop music in Hong Kong. So I thought, okay, there were a lot of pop music in Hong Kong that were cover versions of French pop songs.
Right.
So I did research, and then in the process of doing so, I actually found a lot more than I was bargained for.
Oh, wow, okay.
And aside from those, we're familiar with, for example, Shirley Kwan did some covers, and they were huge hits in the 90s. And there were tons of these adaptations from the 50s, even from around the century. So I thought, okay, I have a treasure trove. I can probably put all of that into this concert. And this is a true cultural exchange in the pop sense, which I think resonates with a lot of people in Hong Kong.
Sure, and you are collaborating with Jin Lee and Tally.
Yes.
What's that experience like?
I know that they will be speaking different languages. So I'd make sure that, there was a warning to them that, make sure that you're fluent in singing French, English, Mandarin, Cantonese, and Japanese.
Oh, wow, okay. That's...
Exactly. I mean, there are all these things that are in the show.
Yeah.
And for very good reasons.
Right.
And they're very good with languages, I have to say, although none of them actually speaks French.
Well, I mean, this whole thing, I think, is also about just bringing people together and exchanging cultures and exchanging ideas, and I think that's very important. I think music is very universal as well.
That's the magic of music, but on top of that, I think I got one step further. It's actually to play with the languages. And there's a section in the event that is called, I call it the song battle. So you know what street battle is. I mean, dance battle, you do see that. The song battle, in this case, it's like between the two different versions. There's a French version of the same song and the Cantonese version or the Mandarin version, and we'll see which one sounds better.
Wow,
so it's a contest between that. So I had to be very creative in putting those together because sometimes you don't think they actually go together.
Right.
So I had to write some transitions for the whole section. So it's very exciting between the two of them that way. There's some unlikely collaboration in music. For example, Jin has a song called The Person Under the Moon. It was a hit song from, I think, 2017 or 16, and because it's about the moon. And I thought, okay, I'm not just going to do it as is. I want to put something else to make the connection between the Hong Kong culture and French culture right from the get-go. That's the very first number. So I used Claire de Lune, Debussy,
one of my
which
favorites.
everybody knows.
Yeah, one of my favorites, yes.
That would be the arrangement of her song. So that's the connection between the two. And visually, you actually see the big moon coming up. So I think that everything goes together that way.
Is there anything that you want through your performances and through this event that you want the Hong Kong people to get or take away from?
Well, I think in this time where traveling is a little bit hard, and at a price anyway, with quarantine and everything else, and I think this concert for me it's a getaway. If you can't physically go somewhere, I think at least mentally you can travel. And I've written a song specifically for this concert. City of Light is Paris. For me, it's also Hong Kong because all the neon lights, I mean, it's celebrated all around the world. So there are a lot in common between the two cities than we know. And other than music, and there's just the city planning, visually, how do cities look. And then I think I should have a song written in celebration of that. So that song's called City of Light, and it's eventually, if you can't travel anywhere, the place where you can find hope and peace is actually within you. That is the ultimate city of light. So I think that is what the concert is about.
So Michelle, how did the idea of you incorporating Cantopop into this festival come about?
Actually, this festival, I'm only responsible this particular bit because they come to me to say that, you know, in the 30 years, actually, they've never had a cantopop singer involved. And I thought, why not? I think maybe this is the time now to do something different, something exciting. But it was a bit of a challenge to think of having a cantopop singer with the connection of French culture. So how this came about, and of course, I think you already talked to Leon, our super talented Leon Cole. He's wonderful. So we put our heads together. So actually, at that time, those iconic Cantonese hit songs was actually directly connected to the French songs. So I said, there it is. You know, we found the connection.
Did that process take long for you two?
He's super busy, and he said that, well, Michelle, I really don't have time. I said that, Leon, I need you to do it, or else I'll be sitting at your doorstep every day, every night. And he knows I could be serious, so he said, okay, I'll find time to do this.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, it's challenging, but finally we say that nothing is impossible. We're determined, we put our minds to it, and he's really come up with a fabulous program. Already this is interesting, and then I thought, you know, we can't go just like this, and what about stage design? So we put together a team, very talented. So you guys will be very happy to see the stage is well designed, and I also got involved 2 local dress designers to dress them. And we want to show the best of Hong Kong.
Why do you think it's important for Hong Kong people here to celebrate French culture?
Well, I think every culture comes with a lot of heritage coming from different parts of the world. Actually, the French expat community is one of the largest in Asia.
Yeah.
We don't have to think hard about French culture because actually we live it
everywhere, right?
It's come out everywhere. You're talking about art,
the food.
Yeah. I think it's always nice to give more in-depth knowledge of one's culture through cultural programs.
Absolutely.
The more we learn, we find that although there seems to have a lot of differences, but we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
So it
connects us all, doesn't it? You know, the more you learn about someone's culture and the more open you are to receiving what they have to offer, you know, it brings us all together, and that's what this is kind of all about, I feel.
Totally, and also leads to harmony and understanding of the 2 communities.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's very important.
So Ophelia, I understand you came to Hong Kong about maybe 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah, 8 years almost.
8 years almost. And what made you come to Hong Kong?
So I actually picked on the map, but nobody believes me when I say this. But I wanted to be based in Asia, so I was like picking towards Asia, and it happened to be Hong Kong.
So you went like and Hong Kong. When you first came here, how did you feel? Because I think there might be a culture shock, is there not?
Yeah, definitely. The culture shock for me was the language of like all these neons, and I don't understand what it means.
Sure.
The amazing and very high buildings.
Yeah.
But I loved it straight away. Straight away, I felt very welcomed. So I didn't know anyone, but indeed, straight away, I started to hear French in the streets, almost like I didn't leave Paris.
Oh, wow, okay.
I even went to some coffee shops and ordered my coffee in French, and I was like, am I in Hong Kong?
You made this really interesting piece over here. Is there anything in particular that kind of inspired you to make this?
So I thought, what can I do to give a thank you to this city that has welcomed me for like now almost 8 years? And I started to wonder about Fan Ho, which is the photographer that was photographing Hong Kong in the 70s, whom I really admire. And he's considered as the pioneer of Photoshop because most of his photos are actually edited. Those very sharp shadows are actually added after he took the photo. With my work, I'm also kind of like working with those new technology, doing something brand new or almost has not yet been seen that much.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen something like this before, yeah. It's very interactive.
So the correlation with Fan Ho and my 7 years in Hong Kong is actually that I danced in these staircases that Fan Ho photographed a lot. As also Fan Ho is not from Hong Kong, he grew up in Shanghai. So, and he kind of like ended here in those staircases. And This digital sculpture was captured by the motion path of my dance in those staircases. This work is interactive and gives the audience the visibility of their motion of their hands on the wall. Kind of like in a poetic way, invite people to dance with me with this work. And when I come here during the day, because this place is very, very active and there's a lot of passage, I can see different people interacting with it, and I see this work as being a universal language. Everybody plays with it. All my friends, whether they're French or local, they're very interested in that festival because the French one are very happy to finally get to experience some of their culture. And the local ones, they're very happy and keen to discover things that they may not know about French, whether it's food, music, dance, art. Yeah, I think we really appreciate having this.
We had a lot of interesting conversations today, and it made me realize that Hong Kong is incredibly diverse, rich with culture and art, and learning about other cultures through celebrations not only gives you information, but it gives you stories, memories, and experiences that can very well last a lifetime.